The Buffalo Bills continue to underperform. It's been the narrative in the Josh Allen era and really for the entire franchise's history. The Bills have won the AFC East for the last 3 years and finally have shown so much promise, but they still haven't played in a Super Bowl. Josh Allen has been really good, but he's just fallen short of really being the best. The Bills seem to be the kings of getting close, but not close enough. There may not be a team with a more depressing or disappointing franchise history in the NFL than the Buffalo Bills. Well, at least not another team that doesn't play in Cleveland or Detroit. At least the Bills made a Super Bowl. In fact, Buffalo played in 4 straight Super Bowls in the early 1990s, but they lost all 4 of them. The Bills actually are the only franchise to make 4 straight and then lose every single one. Then, to start the 2000s, Buffalo missed the postseason for 17 consecutive years. They were actually in last place in the AFC East in 8 of those seasons. Finally, that streak was broken in 2017, which was the first year with Sean McDermott as the head coach. He deserves a lot of credit too, because Buffalo made the postseason with Tyrod Taylor as their starter before Josh Allen was ever in Buffalo. The Bills didn't make the playoffs in Allen's rookie year, but did for the next 4 years. Still, Buffalo has only made 1 AFC championship with Josh Allen when they lost to the Chiefs in 2020. The next season, Buffalo lost to Kansas City again, this time in the divisional round. It was a frustrating end in back-to-back years, and they followed it up last season by losing to the Bengals again in the divisional round. The Bills can't seem to break through, and it feels like that's just been the story of their franchise. Buffalo has the talent and has made progress, but at the end of the day, they can't win it all. And despite finally having a true franchise quarterback, the pain continues for Bills fans. Buffalo had a constant revolving door at quarterback for most of this century. That was until the Bills drafted Josh Allen. The Bills selected Josh Allen 7th overall at the 2018 NFL Draft, and things weren't exactly pretty for a while. He took a couple of seasons to really reach his potential. He was objectively bad as a rookie. He only completed 52.8% of his passes and threw for just 10 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. There was promise though. I mean, it was clear that Allen was a super talented athlete, and he was lethal on the ground with over 600 yards and 8 touchdowns. He certainly improved in 2019, but he had his moments. He still only completed 58.8% of his passes, and that just isn't good enough in the pros. But he only had 9 interceptions, which is actually his career best. Finally, in 2020, peak Josh Allen emerged and took the league by storm. He had by far the best season of his career with a 69.2 completion percentage and 4,544 yards and 37 touchdowns to 10 interceptions, plus 8 rushing touchdowns. Allen was an all-pro for the first and so far only time. Since that breakout 2020 season, Allen has been the #1 focal point on the Bills offense. Buffalo traded for Stephon Diggs before the year to see if Allen could actually be that guy, and clearly he was. The last 2 seasons of Allen's career have been eerily similar. His completion percentage dipped down to 63.3%, he passed for over 4,000 yards in each season, and he's thrown 29 interceptions over the span. Turnovers have been the biggest issue for Allen, and in the NFL, if you can't take care of the ball, it's going to be hard to win games. I know he's a good player, and he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, like, don't get me wrong, but until he figures out how to not turn it over, he's gonna be in that club under Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. He does have a worse supporting cast than those two, but with the turnover issues, Allen has to prove that he can help his team win games, which he very clearly can, by the way. I'm not saying he can't, but he also has to show that he won't lose the game for them. The most important player on the Bills offense outside of Josh Allen is no doubt Stephon Diggs. The Bills traded a 1st, 5th, and 6th to get him and a 7th back in 2020, and it paid off immediately. His first season in Buffalo, Diggs led the league with 1,535 yards and 127 receptions. He's cooled off a bit since, but in 2022, he had a career-high 11 touchdowns. He's a beast, and everyone knows it, but the wide receivers behind him are a bit weak. Gabe Davis was expected to take this huge step last season, but he really didn't. He had the best year of his career with over 800 yards, but I think it's starting to become very clear that he's nothing more than a low-end number 2. Khalil Shakir is going to be very interesting to watch this next year. He didn't get a ton of playtime last season as a rookie, but he'll likely step in as the 3, and we'll finally get to see what he's got in him. So past Diggs, the wide receivers aren't that great, but it's really made up for at the tight tight end position. Not only has Dawson Knox been really good in Buffalo, but the Bills also just used a first-round pick on Dalton Kincaid. The Bills didn't run a lot of two tight end sets last season, so I'd really expect that to change with the pickup of Kincaid, and who knows, maybe that'll help open up the offense a little bit. Running back will also be interesting. James Cook is back, and the Bills did just sign Damian Harris and Latavius Murray, so it's got some interesting names, but it's not really that good of a unit. Cook should see a lot of passes out of the backfield though, if I had to take a guess. Now, if you're looking for the big problem with the Bills, it's probably the offensive line. They really sucked last season, and I think they'll probably suck again. Luckily, the best player on that line in 2022 was Deion Dawkins at left tackle, but that group is rough, and 4 of the 5 starters from last year will be starting again this year. Left guard will now be held down by Connor McGovern, who just signed a 3-year, $22 million contract. He's the Connor McGovern that's been with the Cowboys for the past 4 years, not the Jets center. Yes, there are 2 Connor McGoverns, apparently. Who would have guessed? The Bills have a pretty solid defense, and Sean McDermott is going to be leading the charge play calling for them. There is not a better group on the roster than the safety position. Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer have been the best safety duo in Buffalo since 2017. They've been incredible, and they've both been all pros during that span. The Bills came into the offseason with the potential of losing Poyer, but they signed him to an extension, so he'll be there to stay. Hyde's contract is up after 2023, so again, this could be the last year watching those two guys together. Another all-pro, Tre'Davious White, is the guy at cornerback. He missed the beginning of last season due to a torn ACL before eventually returning to play in 6 games, so it will be nice to have him for a full season healthy. The Bills used their first-round pick in 2022 on Kaiir Elam. He played in 13 games and snagged 2 interceptions as a rookie, so it'll be super interesting to see how he continues to grow in 2023. Linebacker is probably going to be the most interesting position. The Bills run a 4-3, and linebacker is a bit of an unknown, at least after Matt Milano. He was an all-pro in 2022 and was one of the best linebackers in the league, but there are questions at the other 2 spots. AJ Klein was literally on 4 different rosters in 2022, and Terrell Bernard is entering his 2nd season. Buffalo's defensive line really struggled at the end of last season, and honestly, it's not very hard to figure out why. Von Miller tore his ACL, and it looked like a very different group after. Daquan Jones did put together a solid first year in Buffalo, though. The other 2 guys on the line were Bills first-rounders, Ed Oliver and Greg Rousseau. Oliver was drafted in 2019 and was pretty good last season. Meanwhile, Rousseau improved on his 2021 rookie year with 8 sacks in 2022. There's definitely some promise on the line, but there still needs to be a jump. But at the very least, it should be better by Von Miller returning. There's no denying the talent that the Buffalo Bills have on that roster, but the AFC is really good, and they don't appear to be on the same level of the Chiefs or Bengals right now. A lot of that has to do with the fact that Josh Allen really isn't on that same level as Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. The Bills are good, but they're not good enough, and they have more problems than the Kansas City Chiefs and the Cincinnati Bengals. The same goes for Josh Allen. He's good, but he turns the ball over way too much. And also, he's not Mahomes or Burrow. Josh Allen may be the 3rd best quarterback in the league, and the Bills may have the 3rd best team in the AFC, but 3rd isn't good enough, and Buffalo won't win a Super Bowl until that changes.